Ayman, you were there. And obviously, we've seen so many images of it since, both still and video. What was your immediate reaction when you saw a shot land and Usyk hit the deck?
You said it was going to be Jay Speaks His Mind's last plug. I'll give him another one. Jay Speaks His Mind, whether this is Ayman Speaks His Mind or Ayman Speaks His Mind. Look, my immediate reaction was, so where we were placed, we were ringside. We were a chock-a-block ringside, by the way. So many people, never seen so many people are surrounding the area. And we were in the right by the post. If you imagine the post where Don Charles's team were, that corner. So we had I personally had a little bit of an obstructed view of the action. So my eyes were flittering because I like to watch when I'm there live. I see a lot of people, if there's a screen available, watching the screen. And I'm thinking, I can watch a screen anytime. I want to watch it with my own eyes. So I try and watch it even if it's obstructed with my own eyes. But I had to flitter. Sometimes I had to flitter because of that obstruction. So saying that, when I did see the punch with my own eyes. And when I first saw it, I thought, that's a legal blow. And then the replays that came up in the after the round, they showed the one angle, and I thought, that's a legal blow. He's hit him right on the belt line. And then another replay showed the same angle, which again, I thought was a legal blow. So my thought process right there immediately, and then of people around ringside as well, was that was a legal punch and that the punch landed and Oleksandr Usyk should have received a count. Then more replays kept coming and people around ringside were even I'm not talking just British people here or British media. I believe Talk Sport was saying as well that it was a legal punch. I obviously can't hear the commentary from TNT Sports, but I believe they were also claiming it was a legal punch too. But my legitimate initial first reaction was that it was a legal blow and Daniel Dubois should have at least a knockdown on Oleksandr Usyk in that fight.
I'll give my take shortly, but let's go to some more comments. Bobby B says, Usyk always complains on any body shot, Jelly Belly himself. I think that's harsh, but I also do think Usyk was making the referee very aware of the body shots or low shots, depending on your perspective, from early in the fight. He was showing out, and then that led to the referee complaining. And we will talk about the referee, because whether you think that was a legal blow in the 5th round or not, I don't think the referee covered himself in glory. What else we got here? Jose, we've seen yours already. Sergei Liakovic again says, second time now Dubois has capitulated after a jab. Is Dubois still not comfortable fighting gassed later rounds? Should you have to at least go 12 rounds before challenging for a title? Yeah, that's an interesting point. Pay Style says, everyone asks why these larger boxers don't rush forward on Usyk. The answer has to be more pop on his punches than given credit for. I think that's certainly true. And also, I think it's the speed of reaction. So, you're liable to get countered quickly. And he's got faster hands than the majority of heavyweights because he's come up from cruiserweight and he's an excellent boxer. Anita Dump says, that's like straight out Simpsons, isn't it? Yeah. Huge ass. Why did the referee not give a count? If he gave the count and was counted out, he was beat. It was because of where it was, and Usyk was in hometown. He wasn't in his hometown. He was actually 300 miles from the Ukrainian border in Poland. But I understand what you're saying. He was certainly the house fighter. Knocked out from... that's more Dubois slander. Ezekiel the Mac says, if Usyk was hit below the belt, why did he not grab his groin whilst writhing around in agony? I'm not sure that always happens. Like, I've been hit low in sparring. I've been hit with a football, playing football in that region as well. You don't always, instinctively grab there. Sometimes you sink to your knees in abject pain. So I don't think that's necessarily, definitive proof. But going back to the overriding point in that 5th round, I initially thought definitely a fair knockdown. Seemed to be completely on or just above the belt line for me. I think one of the problems we've got is that I think Tony Bellew did it first, circulating that picture of Usyk post-fight with his trunks very much below his navel. There's that word again. And that wasn't the case for the majority of the fight itself, and certainly not when he took that shot in the 5th round. His trunks were covering his belly button at that point. But unless you've got X-ray specs, there's no way of knowing how high the trunks were in relation to his belly button. Therefore, there's no way definitively of knowing where the shot landed. I don't want to say that makes this whole debate pointless and, 160 people, 171 now are watching live suddenly switch off. But the problem is that it's a bit like politics at the moment. Everyone's on one side or the other. It's a binary debate. Everyone who thinks that Dubois was cheated seems absolutely certain in their view. And everyone I've seen online who thinks Usyk did have a low blow and came back manfully to win the fight is equally determined that their view is correct. I don't see how anyone can be 100% certain where that shot landed except for Usyk himself. And then it becomes, as Billy Joel once sang, a matter of trust. So it's a difficult one. Alex says, ignore the photos going around, watch the fight and pulls it throughout, and you can see Usyk's belly button. Anything below the belly button is illegal. Also, let's talk about the wet canvas. Well, there's not much really to talk about the wet canvas, but we can. Blaze1871 says, Bellew doing damage limitation so the super fight happens. I saw Peter Fury use the same picture as well, and I've got a huge amount of respect for Peter Fury. And he may well be right about where the shot landed. I just don't think that picture in particular supported that view. Simon Brandy says, middle of the hips is the cutoff. Watching the replay, the shot looked bang on. We see those body shots in boxing all the time. See, someone said earlier that navel was the the fanboy word of the week. I think bladder has to be up there or down there, as the case may be. A lot of people talking about he was hit in the bladder and that's why he reacted the way he did, because you don't have to be hit squarely in the nuts to be in terrible pain. I had a look because I kind of think I like to know where my bladder is anyway. But I did have a look at some diagrams online. Never hurts to learn, even at 42. And the bladder is just above the private region, going all PG there. And looking at the angle of the shot and where it made contact, I don't think he was hitting the bladder. That doesn't mean it was a legal shot. I'm not saying it was on the belly button or above, but it certainly wasn't the bladder from my view. Basel Amjad says the main impact of the shot was at the belt line, but his fist first grazed, landed from below the belt line, then slid upwards. And for a heavyweight, that would hurt. And yes, I've seen Usyk's belly button. Well, I think we've all seen Usyk's belly button now, probably more than we'd like. Bobby B says he should wear his guard in the proper place. We don't know definitively where he's wearing the guard. We only know where his shorts were, and they seem to move around quite a lot during the fight. Wally Chinchilla says this will continue happening to Usyk. I know there's been some video going around of Maris Breedis doing something similar to Dubois. We'll talk about the end of the fight shortly and the fight as a whole, but I just wanted to go with the main thrust of the debate to start with, pun intended. Thomas Morris says the shot was placed perfectly, but once we watched Dubois give up in the ninth, to me, he can't even complain about the bad call. Yeah, I mean, if you're a cynic, you could say, well, it gives the promoters and Dubois himself and his training team a narrative now to ask for a rematch, to keep him up there in the list of contenders. And I understand that. But it could be a legitimate thing. Like, if you feel that punch landed where it did, although Usyk told Ayman yesterday that he would have jumped up if he'd heard the referee counting, we'll never know for sure. And I think that unknown element is what could sell a rematch, or Dubois getting another shot against another champion. Taj says Usyk's navel was not visible before the shot landed. He adjusted it after the ref gave him time to recover. Blaze1871 says, should we use VR? Oh, he means VAR. I'd love a bit of VR refereeing. VAR like football in boxing. So I'm going to come back to some chats in a minute, so don't stop sending them in. But I want to get back to Ayman, who was actually there, let's not forget, in Roslov. Ayman, we saw what happened. If we say, and this is hypothetical, that it was a legal blow that Dubois landed, is there a chance that Usyk was, he thought it was a low blow if it wasn't? Can the pains be conflated between a legitimate body shot and a shot below the belt?
I don't know. It's always very hard to kind of really project or understand where someone, like you kind of mentioned, like where someone feels the pain. Really, I've had pain before where you think it's in a certain place, but really it's actually somewhere else in your body. You don't really. It's a very hard kind of question to answer specifically. But what I can say is, like, Usyk I saw a different angle actually when I spoke to Usyk. And Usyk showed me on his phone and pulled it out. And there was, I believe, a gentleman. I haven't sourced the actual video yet, but the video was another angle, and he was talking through it. And on that angle, first time I'd seen it from Usyk, it looked clearly low. Now, not even like, because it's the point of impact is really kind of crux of the situation. Not really maybe where the punch ended, I guess. And from what it looked like, from what Usyk provided to me, it was clearly even a lot lower than it being just the belt line. It looked like a proper bad low blow. I'd like to kind of source that video again. I believe we've got it, the actual kind of recording of it at some point. So I need to look at that back. But for me, like, having seen that angle and see the way my mind works is, I think if an angle shows that it's and clearly illegal, then that is the angle to go with, because otherwise it wouldn't exist if it was clearly illegal. I think as well there's some confusion too regarding kind of the rules. We did a little bit of research, the team at SecondsOut, and essentially what it was, there's a discrepancy between British rules and then other rules. So for example, if this happened hypothetically in Britain, then I should say, if this happened hypothetically in Britain at the one angle that's been thrown out or seen by the wider majority of people, then it's a legal punch. If it happens in America, it's illegal. Below the navel, illegal. UK, legal. That's kind of the confusion. And when you were kind of saying as well about the debate as well too, noticing on the comments in our videos, the people who want to go piling on Usyk on Usyk's video, and the people who want to pile on Don Charles and say that he doesn't have a claim, piling on Don. There's no real support for either camp on the videos either. So yeah, the debate's going to rumble on. Like you mentioned there, cause for Daniel Dubois specifically, a young heavyweight, to kind of cling on to something there. Whether a rematch happens is difficult, because Frank Warren's also pushing for Tyson Fury for an undisputed fight. So how does that really kind of fit into the puzzle? But yeah, a real kind of messy kind of situation. But one that, again, when there's debate like this, when there's uncertainty, maybe people do want to see the fight again.
Comments, and then Ayman and I will give our final verdicts, metaphorical gun to our heads. Chats here are going so fast it's hard to keep up, but we'll see. Scouser 0151 says Daniel is not weak. He dropped Usyk for 5 minutes. Come on now. I mean, it depends where it landed in a sense, doesn't it? Big Dog 100 says it's on the belt. It should be higher to stop the debate. Otherwise, let's talk about it. Yeah, that's fair enough. Blaze 1871 says Usyk laid down for a round and a half recovery. Anyone can come back after that time. Who else we got here? I wasn't a G until I moved out the hood, says Usyk is clever how he got these much bigger knockout ice on the back foot. It's mind-boggling. Sunset, if they felt so strongly about it being a body shot, why didn't they protest at the time? I mean, there's not really much you can do when the fight is still going on. The referee's, it's like protesting a red card in a football match. The referee's not going to suddenly change his mind and let you stay on the pitch.
What really is that point there?
Yeah. Goran Stipchich says Dubois is a quitter and spoiled brat. He hit Usyk not just with that shot. There's at least 4 or 5 low shots more. Just watch again. I think some of those were debatable though. Dan Raphael has apparently said Don Charles should worry more about Dubois being a quitter, which is interesting. Not always see eye to eye with Dan. Dennis Baktov, again, I hope it's the real one, says considering Dubois is one of Usyk's weakest opponents. Sorry, the chat's going a bit fast from here. Is one of his weakest opponents. How concerning is it Usyk looked visibly slower? First time I've seen him looking his age, and inactivity not helping. I mean, we're going to move on to the overall fight in a minute, and I didn't think Usyk was particularly impressive, to be honest. So we'll talk about that. Bobby B says, this ref made him take 1 more minute. BS this. Yeah, I mean, the referee should never be in a position, and Don Charles mentioned this to Ayman yesterday, where he's actively encouraging the fighter to take more time. A fighter's allowed up to a certain amount of time, and then it's up to them when they want to carry on up until that limit. The referee should never be kind of a cheerleader or an encourager for a fighter to go before he's ready, or if he says he's ready, to give him more time. If the fighter's sure he's made the right decision, let him carry on. I thought the referee was very responsive to Usyk and his demands, complaints during the fight, and whether the punch was low or not in the 5th, and the poll at the moment is very close. I think, the referee was at fault either way.